Hi, this is Anna Imagination, and welcome to the Ethical Asshole. So, I have been in the abstract writing all day, all day. It's been extraordinary. I'm just like, it feels really weird stepping out of that world. Like, whoa, I'm in the material plane now. This is fascinating. One dimension plane. This is weird. So, one of the things that I wrote today that really was there's a lot of backstory to it. I'm going to skip the backstory part. That's in the story itself. You can read that if you want. And it is that words are the origin of health. One of the things I do, I'm a physicist, and one of the things that I do is a very specific branch of physics called ontological physics. And when you get into ontological physics, it really starts to cross over into all the physics. It's all the physics. So physics is literally in every thing. It's in everything. And only physicists really understand this. Really, only physicists get this. And the more you start to study anything, the more you're going, okay, so it's just physics again. And then you go over here, okay, so it's just physics again. And in chemistry, it's called physical chemistry. In biology, it's called phys bio. And in music, it's called all of music. That is, like, music is just physics. It's the sound of physics. That's what it is. It's the sound of physics. And in ontological physics, it is the physics of reality, the abstract, and the mind. It's literally the physics of the mental. It's literally mental physics. It's how physics is inside the subconscious mind. It's really what ontology is. It's fantastic. So when you look at what and this is the most beautiful thing. The reason why the subconscious mind does not exist in the material plane is because it exists exclusively in the abstract plane. It is one of the few things, like mathematics, that exclusively only exists in the abstract. And when you try and pull it into the material plane, everyone is over there going, well, it doesn't exist. It's not real. Well, neither is time. Well, time is really not real. But also neither is words. And there's a lot of stuff in the material plane that isn't real, that is really real, like physics. So when you are looking into the subconscious mind, if you are not familiar with the world of the abstract, you are not going to be able to do really any work with the subconscious mind because you are talking about something in the abstract, which is why literal and concrete thinkers really don't do anything regarding mental health, is because they don't understand it, because you have to be abstract to understand such a concept. So ontology is literally mental physics. And there are four stages. There's four stages of philosophy that gets you to that level. And there's existentialism, and then there's metaphysics, and then there's ontological physics. Now, when you get into metaphysics is a whole nother. There's metaphysics, what people think it is, and then there's actually what it is. And you don't know what it actually is unless you've gone through existentialism and the actual curriculum for Plato, and then you get to ontological physics. When you're at ontological physics, then you can step back, look at metaphysics, and go, oh yeah, people have no fucking clue what that is. Metaphysics is, well, it's literally the physics that exists between the quantum realm and the universal realm. So you've got really small, like, which is quantum, which that's all it means. It means small. And then you've got, well, meta. You've got meta, macro, and micro. That's really all it is. Micro, meta, and macro. Macro is astronomy and nuclear physics. And microphysics is quantum physics, which is just a Latin word for, well, no, it's not Latin. It's Greek. It's the Greek word for small. Actually, now I got to look that up. Is it Latin or is it Greek? Quantum origin. Why am I saying origin? Oh, well, that works too. Latin, quantus. Okay, so now let's look up micro. I'm certain that's Latin. I know it's Latin. Origin. No, it's Greek. Mikros, small. It is Greek. Okay, so micro is Greek and quantum is Latin. Same word. So you have micro, you have meta, and you have macro. And those are your three types of physics. So the kind of physics, and what this means is when you're looking at particles, that's microphysics, that's quantum physics. When you're looking at space, the final frontier, that's macro. But when you look at the physics that's around us, eye-level physics, eye-level physics, you need no scope need apply. Newton did metaphysics. It's called physics. That's it. It's classic physics. So when you get into the subconscious mind, it's classic physics, which is over in the material plane, but then you take it over into the abstract plane. But you can't do physics you can't do abstract physics from the other plane. You can't. You got to be in the abstract to do the physics. So when you learn this and you figure it all out and you start putting all the physics together, you start to realize that everything does have physics. And physics is very much in our words. So there's literally like this whole physics is words. And when you understand the order of operations, because that's what logic is, logic and physics are like, they're like this. You cannot do one without the other. You cannot. Like logic and physics are like that. So if you are a physicist, you should also be a logician. And that's where there's some problems. Like if you are in the world of science, you really should be a logician. And Euclid is the only logician I know other than myself. Like literally, Euclid was a mathematician. He was a polymath, but he was also a logician. He is the only person in the world who I know of who is also a logician. So logic is literally the science and the study of the comprehension of the logic of. Logic means comprehension. It is the science and the comprehension of integration disintegration, which is another really nice way of saying fission and fusion. It is the science and the logic of fission and fusion. That is what logic really is. I'm going to say that again. Logic is the science of fission and fusion. That's really what logic is. And when you study logic, what you are doing is you are studying the very, very basic of integration, which integration is fusion. So you are literally studying the science of fusion. And that starts with words because word is the origin and then it all goes from there. So logic is the science of the origin of fission and fusion. Everything is physics. Everything is physics. And physics is the rules. It's the how it's related to everything. It's how literally it's the relativity to everything. So in logic, it's the actual sequence of A to B to C to D. And then in physics, it's okay, now how B is related to A, or how Z is related to X, or how G is related to Q. And you get to see the relativity. So physics is all about how things interact. That's physics. Well, that's also chemistry. But again, we're back to this whole thing of it all merges together again. So physics is all about the laws and the rules of logic. Logic is the actual sequence itself. And then the foundation of logic is word and linguistic. Which is the origin of logic, which is the science of what births a word. And what births a word is energy and name. It's a sound. It's a sound that births a word. We're back to physics again. How sound actually creates word. That is what it is. How sound creates energy. That is what a word is. The science of sound creating energy. Yes! Just like what I did. Yes! Because I'm using intensity to increase my volume. And it's also the pronunciation or the word itself, the creation of the sound and how that sound generates an energy. And the ancient Greeks had two words for this. One is a word I'm not even going to try to pronounce. The other is another word that I'm not going to try to pronounce, but that word means goes. And basically what that means is whenever you were looking at logic, you were looking at either in or out. It's really basic, in or out. Another way we talk about this is open or closed, which is what we see with computers. Open or closed. Now, if it's open, it can go out. If it's closed, it can't go in. It stays in. So now you're looking at just the operations of in versus out, literally your 1 and your 0 code. And when it's open, it releases and goes out. When it's closed, it stays put. Now, if you have something, and here's the thing, it's going to go out no matter what. I have to clarify this. It's going to go out no matter what. But in logic, you learn that there's a good way that it goes out and a really bad way that it goes out. And in physics, and in biology, chemistry, physics, math, logic, and all of it, you learn all of the bad ways that something can go out and all of the good ways that it can go out. And that's really what we're learning. So things can go in, things can go out, things can go out the right way, or things can go out the bad way. And you literally have a 50-50 chance. Now, if you are knowledgeable, ethical, or intelligent, or educated, you get to start determining how you want things to go out. You can literally use strategic deliberation to decide, I don't want this to go out this way. I want it to go out this way. And then you, on purpose, decide to have something go out in a positive, creative way. Now, when you do that, it's called potential energy being transferred over into kinetic energy. We're back to the physics again. So that whenever you have a sound or anything, whenever you have a word, you can take in those words into you. It will process the energy through you. And then you could strategically use that energy to do whatever you want, create whatever you want. And everything is language. Everything is communication. So when you have something come into you, it's literally a communication is coming into you. Communication is literally the ebb and flow. It's the trade and the exchange of data coming into you and data going out to you. So it's literally circuitry. You have a receptor and you have a transmitter. Again, we're back to physics. So that when you have input or something going out, it goes into somebody else. Now, the receiver can receive that, transfer it into them. They can take it. And this is usually where people end up hoarding what comes into them. They end up literally holding right onto it, which is suppression. Now you've got resistance. These are really bad in physics. You don't want these things in physics. You do not want resistance when it's on in the inside of you. You want resistance when something is on the outside, but you really shouldn't be resisting. If you have something bad on the outside, you are in the wrong place. And this is where humans don't know anything about physics and how physics applies to their decisions and their basic mental health. So as a result, they're making bad physics decisions. That's really all this is. You're making bad physics decisions. And because you're making bad physics decisions, you are basically unbalanced and not regulated in your energy, and it's all going out. There's no such thing as bad energy. There is no such thing as bad energy. Just give me a minute. I got to go back to that black magic and all the stuff that I studied in ancient Greek today. No, there's no such thing as bad energy. What there is you can choose to either select your energy or hold on to it or release it. Because if you do get bad energy, it should go right through you, and you should just it's like an electrical bolt of lightning hitting you. You don't want to be the last one. You don't want to be the last component on that sequence. You want to be like you want to be a conduit. You really want to be a conduit. So what this means in the if I were to change this physics over into electricity, it's you have a wire and the thing travels through. So you're a conduit to electricity. So electricity goes through you. Now, I know people who actually got hit by lightning. That's a conversation. So when the lightning hits you, you don't even know it, first of all. You don't know it. And you don't feel it because it goes right through you. Now, if it can't go through you, you're going to have a problem because that means you are last in line and you're going to pop because all that energy is now inside of you. But if you are standing on the ground, it's just going to go right through you. So now it passes through you. It literally goes into the ground. The ground receives it, not you. You are a bridge. So if you're a bridge to that kind of energy, you're fine. You won't feel it. But if you're holding it in, if you, and this is what happens in trauma, is you're not the bridge, you're holding it in. So that instead of it passing through you, you are taking it all in, and now you're the storage unit. So instead of you being a bridge or a road for that energy, you are the storage unit receiving that energy. And then what you want to do is basically release it. That's all you got to do. You just got to release it. This is not hard. This is not complicated. This is physics. It's very, very simple. It's very, very basic. Human beings who are ignorant in physics are the ones who make this hard. All you have to do is transfer your energy using words into kinetic energy, which is why you do talk therapy. Well, there's two things you're doing with talk therapy. First, you got to unravel your logical code and fill in the gaps and then correct all of the lies that you were told. And then you have to undo those with logical fallacy, which is really simple if you have logic and you can just go back to the root and you take care of that. Real simple. And it is simple if you have logic. If you don't, well, it's going to be hard because you don't have logic. And then the flip side of all that is when you just want to drain or remove that energy because you're suppressing it. So what you're really doing when you're healing is you are trying to get your physics started back up again with your entire chain reaction line of logic. And to do that, it's literally transferring all of your data out and then just moving it forward. So when I was looking at the massive chain be all end all of all of this, it all kept going right back to that core of words are the origin of your mental health. Now, this is where people really like to mess around with mindset, which is like, don't do that. Mindset is a consequence. It's like you're okay. This is exactly when you're messing around with mindset. This is what you're doing. You have a thermometer and it's 40 degrees. Let's go worse. Let's go 10. Let's put you in central New York. It's going to be -20 outside. All right, it's January, -20. So it's -20 outside, and you're like, oh my God, I'm so cold. So you grab the thermometer and you hold the thermometer and try to warm it up. People do this. It's a metaphor. People do this. That is what you are doing when you are trying to fix your mindset. It's like getting upset that it's -20 outside, so you're going to warm up the thermometer instead of put on a jacket or go inside. Instead, they're just going to warm up the thermometer. The thermometer will warm up in your hands, and then it's going to read something different, but it's still -20 outside. So this is where a lot of people really don't get physics or logic because they haven't studied physics or logic. And as a result, they're fucking around with their mindset. And you really need to leave your mindset alone. Your mindset is a thermometer. Look, it's -20. So then people will use words, manipulations, and they'll attack their subconscious mind, trying to get that temperature to rise. But it's still -20 outside. This is where people will go off and they'll do something and it will work for a while. And then they have to go back and they have to do it again. And that's because they keep fucking around with the temperature instead of going to the origin. The origin is you need to go inside and start a fire. Like you need to go inside or put on a coat. You need to move to a warmer climate. So these are the things that people aren't processing. So your mindset is a response to the words you are using. You've got to change your language. It's absolutely, you don't ever change your mindset. You got to change the language. When you change your language on a day-to-day basis, and this is what a lot of people really get this backwards, because they will say mantras all day long while keeping the same language. I have seen people do this where they will just keep using mantras, positive affirmations, beating themselves with it, but they will never change the actual language they're using. I've seen people use narcissist language while doing positive affirmations, and the mindset doesn't change. And that's because they don't know logic, which is you need to go to the origin, which is your words. You need to change your original language. You need to change your origin of your words. So what I've done, I created a language called abstractic. And I take all of my linguistics and my logic and my physics knowledge, and I literally created a new language called abstractic. And it's what I speak. It is literally strategically selecting each and every word in such a way that it is healthy. It is positive. It's not really, it's not, okay, positive. Let's talk about what positive and negative really means. Positive means that energy is created from something to integrate. Negative means that something is created from energy and it disintegrates. And that's it. The real names for positive and negative, which are actually the incorrect names, because positive means it's good and negative means it's bad. So poor negative energy is actually getting a bad rap, making it even worse than it really is. So cellulosis is negative, but that's actually not negative. You want cellulosis, or else you'd have webbed fingers. You don't want to not have. So the concept of it being negative is really a misnomer. That's not true. It's not positive or negative. What it really is in or out. So if it's positive, it's actually integrating. That's what it means. It is integrating. And if it is disintegrating or if it's negatives, it's going away. It is recessive. If it is positive, it is actually progressive. And if it is out or if it is negative, it is regressive. And that's the difference. That is the difference. So if you are using regressive language, it's really what we need to be calling it. We need to be using regressive language. So most of you are using regressive language. I am using progressive language. This is the difference. Progressive language 100% cultivates positivity, puts the energy inside of me, and nourishes my body. Regressive language disintegrates you, drains you, and pushes it out. Now, regressive language is the language of narcissists, pedophiles, and salesmen, and criminal. It is literally criminal forensics, and it's the same language. They all are using the same language. So when you are using that language, you are attracting those people to you, which is why you're attracting narcissists. You're not. Your regressive language is what attracts those guys. So when you start to use a progressive language, everything changes. And the very first thing that a progressive language uses is the first person point of view. It's literally everything that makes you feel uncomfortable about self-esteem is progressive language. Self-esteem is progressive language. Vaunting is regressive language. Hubris is regressive language. And not using the appropriate words. This is big. This is really, really big, is making sure that your word origin is actually true to the origin of the word as opposed to whatever narcissist contaminated the word to make it regressive. So there's a lot of words like friend and love. Those are actually progressive words, but narcissists change them to make them regressive because they change the definition. So now you've got some very healthy progressive words that they deliberately change the definition to, and now you've got contaminated words. And those contaminated words are actually progressive words being used in a regressive way. Now you've got a problem, because now you have progressive words like love or friend that is being used in a regressive way because you've lost the definition to the actual word, which means you're going to have to look it up. Except here's the problem. You got narcissists writing your dictionaries now, guys. You're fucked. which means you're going to have to go back to etymology and look up the origin of the word and track it down, because that's not what they've touched yet. Which means if you want to know the actual definition of the progressive word you are using in the progressive definition, you have to educate yourself, because knowledge is power, which is physics talk for knowledge is energy, which means it's progressive or it's regressive. So you need to make sure the words you are using are actually the progressive definition and not the regressive definition. So you have to go back to the word origin to figure out what the word actually means, and not what your narcissistic ex-husband told you the word means. Big difference. Liars lie. The really good liars lie about lying and then cover their tracks. Once you figure that out, life becomes easy. Liars lie, but the really good liars lie about lying and then cover their tracks. So this is literally, if you want to get right into the hardcore truth about what mental health is really, where it pertains to, what the origin is, it's words. Your words are absolutely dictating your entire mental health. It's all about your word origin, and that is back to that etymology of the word. And I'm going to tell you right now, if the word did not come from ancient Greek or Latin, if it says the word came from German, that's a bullshit lie. No, it did not. No, it did not. It did not come from German. Okay, it did not come from German. Unless you are Germanic, it did not come from German. We are speaking English, which means the word either came from Latin, Old Norse, or ancient Greek, not Germanic. A great example of this is the word name. Name came from our French for nom, which came from German. Name, but it didn't. It actually came from the ancient Greek word enoma, which came from Old Persian nom, which is name spelled the exact same, N-A-M, nom, and then the Greeks called it enomer, and then it became name. So no, we did not come from, that's liars bullshit. That's the liars who lie, changing the etymology to get control. That's the bullshit they do. It did not, English never came from German. It has no relationship to German. We came from Old Norse. That is where our language came from. Awful. Laundry came from their word lauderdog. Awful. Those are the exact same words. Name, this is great. Anar is their word for name. But if it's an AU word or an OUGH word or an ALL word, any word where it's all, that is Old Norse. We have about 80% of our words came from Old Norse. That's where our language comes from. We're all speaking Norwegian. That's really it. We're all speaking Norwegian, guys. And narcissists lied to us and said it was German. No, it wasn't. We're all speaking Norwegian. There's very, very few words in our language that's actually German. Look at that. It's garden. We did get garden from them. But I'm going to have to look up the etymology to look up where garden came from, because I doubt it came from German. Again, now I'm going to look it up. This might be an actual good example, garden etymology. The thing is, our words were dictated by the Roman Church, where they came from. And they were not Germanic. That was actually there. Okay, so let's go Latin word for garden. Hortus, horticulture. And then let's go ancient Greek word. What did you find there? Yeah, I know. Well, the kindergarten, like I do know that. I want to see what the ancient Greek word is. Guard? Prison guard? What? Why?
And they sound the same.
They do sound the same. That's so weird. Guard. Guard comes from garden. All right, let's take a look at the etymology of guard. That's interesting. See, now I'm on a trail. Now, what's that mean? Guard. Garter. That is very interesting. Middle French.
Guardian.
Greek. Nope, phylux. We want to go to the ancient Greek word is phulex. Phulex. So let's look at the Latin word. Right. But that's not the word, though. That's just the definition. That's not the actual word. You want to look at the Greek word, which is their alphabet. So let's look at the Latin word for guard. Oh, Latin word. What is the Old Norse word for garden? Yeah. Oh, garder. There it is. There it is. Garder. There. Old Norse word for garden is garder. Like I said, Old Norse, garder. So our words came from Old Norse. And if it did not come from Old Norse, look at the ancient Greek or look at the Latin. We have absolutely there's no lying. That's a cousin. It's a cousin. It's like trying to claim that your parent is your cousin. That is exactly what it is. Proto-Germanic came from, it's a completely different language. It's a completely different alphabet. It breaks all of the logic rules. If you look at logic and apply it to language, all the lies come out. It doesn't make any sense. Our parent language is Old Norse. So when you look at Old Norse, now Old Norse branches off and it does nourish the Germanic languages. So you do see Proto-Germanic happening. So ours evolved. So what to look at Germanic is to look at the English language, which is why they came up with garden and guard, and we came up with our version of garden and guard. They got garten with a T, we got garden with a D. Old Norse had a D. So you're going to see a lot more similarities from Old Norse. So Old Norse is the parent, and you've got Germanic over here, but you've got I got to clarify, you got Proto-Germanic. So it's Old Norse to Proto-Germanic, and then you've got Teutonic. And that's the problem. You've got Teutonic that's interfering with Proto-Germanic, and they're creating this creature over here. And there is no Teutonic at all in the English language. And I'm like, guys, stop saying we're speaking a branch of German. That's bullshit. No, it's not. We are speaking Old Norse. We have more in common with Thor and that language than any other language in the world. It's insane. Like blood. It's the same word. It's the same word. Our TH, where do you think we get that from? TH is 100% Old Norse. That's Futhark. Our language. If you look at the English language, it's not compatible with the Greek language or the Latin language. It's bothering me. It's bothered me from like day one. Every time I'm like, what the fuck? This alphabet doesn't fit my mouth. It doesn't. The Greek and the Latin alphabet does not fit the English mouth. Linguistically, it makes no sense. But then you look at Futhark and it's like, oh, my language. It fits my mouth. It fits the mouth. So yes, I love Futhark. So we are actually speaking. We should be writing in Futhark. We really should be writing in Dwarven runes, guys. That's our original language. We need to do this. I officially declare that we need to convert our language alphabet back to Futhark because it would be amazing if everything was just written in our ancient runes, Dwarven runes. So the theta and the thorn, that is our thorn. The thorn is the D that gives us the th sound. They had two letters for TH. The first one gave us the, and the other one gave us th. By the way, if you have a TH in the word, it came from Old Norse. Father, that's pretty cut and dry. It's an Old Norse word. So when you start to look at the lineage, and that's really, logic is the science of lineage. That's a really great way of putting it. Logic is the science of lineage. Yes. So when you start to look at genetics and lineage, you can tell logically when something's bullshit. So when people are like, oh yeah, we're speaking German. No, we're not. Do you know anything about cousins? What?
Line.
Yes.
Age.
Yes, line age. Yes, lineage means line age. Yes, that's what time actually is, people. Lineage is actually time. It is your line age. That is really what time is. Just saying. It's your time age. It's your lineage. Lineage is time. I'm done with that. So yeah, logic is this, which is why when I studied logic and I'm sitting here going, oh, it's just time. And it changes everything. And I'm looking at the mathematicians going, dudes, you guys didn't study logic. If you did, you would know that dimension is actually lineage. So yeah. To say we speak a branch of German is to say that your parent is your cousin. I don't know what kind of family you came from, but I didn't come from that kind of a family. Just saying. So get your fucking words right, people, because lineage matters, and that's logic. That's logic. So that's all I have to say about that. Thank you so much. May the kindest of words always find you.